Okay, everybody, welcome. This is our One World Zohar study session. So wherever we are connecting to the upper realm and manifesting the energy of healing in the world, specifically for Roshan Bat Chana. We want to have in mind everyone we know needs healing, everybody the world over, everyone in our WhatsApp groups, whether it's physical, emotional healing, spiritual healing, financial healing. Let's also have in mind the energy of Avat Chinam, unconditional love throughout the world, and ending all the chaos and conflict that we see in the world. Let's invite in the Rav and Karen and Michael, Monica, Rabbi Schlag, Rabbi Brandwein, the Ariya Kodesh, Ramchal, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Mizulai, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Levatepsk, Rabbi Kolona Mishpira Piasetsna, whose anniversary of elevation is tonight and tomorrow. The Eish Kodesh, the Piasetsna. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and all the students, Rabbi Mordechai of Chernobyl, One Soul with Yosef Tzaddik in Shechem, Joseph the Righteous in Annapolis. Okay. We're in verse 46, volume 2. This week is the portion of Noah. We just started the month of Cheshvan, known as Mar Cheshvan, Scorpio. So this looks like one of the negative months, but really what it is an intense month. This is not the month to be sitting on your hands or back on your heels, whatever other kind of metaphor you want to think about being passive. This is a month to be active and to be proactive and to finish what we've started, specifically to do the things that are sitting on our plate, and this is not the time to procrastinate, because this is like what they refer to as gut check time, where we really need to, this is the time to do the work that we came here to do. So this is a section which will deal with this. Again, it's verse 46. Does anyone want to volunteer to read English for us today?
I'll read it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andrew. All right, verse 46. Why don't you read the introduction to this section?
Okay. Hashem has done that which he devised, right?
Yes.
Okay. As a parent feels the pain of a child whose iniquities have caused the child great suffering, the Creator feels the pain of all the souls who walk this earth. We should attempt to understand the Creator's love for us and become inspired to relieve his pain by transforming ourselves. And in the process of doing so, we will relieve our own pain as well.
So it's a fascinating little description. We should attempt to understand the Creator's love for us. I'm just saying, we really got to think, what does that mean? What does that mean, the Creator's love for us? There's people in my life, I feel their love. Do I feel the love of the Creator? I'm kind of leaving that as an open question. It's something to think about. So let's dive in. Rabbi Elazar Azal legabe the Rabbi Yossi, the Rabbi Shimon bel lekonia chamoy. Keben de chamale atkin le tosfita de komra de maton de kolfa yitivu. Amalei chamoy. Efshar de shamat me avuch. Hay dichtiv asa Hashem asher zamam bitza. Emrato asher tziva mimei kedem.
Rabbi Elazar went over to Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakunya, his father-in-law.
Okay, so usually when we see Rabbi Shimon, we think Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, author of the Zohar, but in this case, it's a different Rabbi Shimon, so it's, we see that. Hang on a second. So this is Rabbi Elazar going to see his father-in-law, just so we're clear. who shows up all the time, Rabbi Yossi. Okay, go ahead.
As soon as he saw him, he spread carpets over planks of wood and prepared a canopy under which they both sat.
What it sounds like he's making a sukkah. What's going on? Go ahead.
His father-in-law asked him if by any chance he had learned from his father the meaning of the verse. Hashem has done that which he devised. He has performed his word that he commanded in the days of old.
Okay, that's a verse from Eicha. And again, Eicha is the portion that is read, the book that is read on the 9th of Leo, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. So it's a very solemn and serious and thought-provoking book with a lot of what appear to be very challenging negative stories that and references that are included there. And so that's the verse. So he goes to his father-in-law, and his father-in-law says, hey, have you spoken to Rabbi Shimon, your father, about this verse? Has he helped you understand this verse? And is this really necessary? Couldn't they just start the conversation at a different point? But what this brings up for us, and what's important about it is first of all, is acknowledging what we don't know. He's obviously admitting he doesn't know. He doesn't have an understanding of this verse. He's struggling with it. And so he's going to be open with it and vulnerable about it. And he asks his son-in-law about it. Like, that speaks to the nature of their relationship. I don't know about your fathers-in-laws, but mine wasn't always so open and vulnerable. I'm just saying. And I don't think he was the exception, although he was exceptional in many ways. That wasn't one of them because he was of a certain generation. And as I've often said, for many of us, our vulnerability is our superpower. So here he is showing up, Rabbi Yossi, and, saying to his son-in-law, look, I need help with this. Okay, let's continue. 47. Amar le ta'uk muha chavraya vitza emrato de baza porpira delay asher tzivami mekedem da porpira pakidla me'inun yomei kadma'e ilae v'yomod itzcharev be matisha bazala begin the high porpira ihi yikara delay v'tikuna delay uvazale. Have you ever seen the word porpira before?
No.
No.
Where are we right now?
We're in verse 47 of Noah.
Noah.
My book is page 293. Yeah. Okay. All right, Andrea, go ahead.
He answered, our friends have already explained it. He has performed his word. He tore his hem, means that he ripped his precious cloak, that he commanded in the days of old, means that this cloak he commanded from the supernal days of old.
Okay, so literally, what Rabbi Elazar is telling him is, we've already talked about this. So why, and again, this is a reminder that, just so we all know all this. There's nothing we're studying today that we don't already know. Our soul knows everything we are connecting to. So what does it mean? He has performed his word in that verse from Eicha. What does it mean? So he's explaining, well, what did we talk about? It means that he ripped his precious cloak. That's got to be a metaphor for something, right? Because the Creator does not shop at the same clothing stores I do, and he's not wearing a cloak. So the question is, what does that mean? And means that this cloak he commanded from the supernal old days. It's just not adding up. There's no clothing and there's no old days. Frankly, there's no time in the spiritual realm.
So David, it was a borrowing from Greek that went into Aramaic.
Say that again.
A borrowing from Greek.
I thought it was a Greek word. There you go. Yeah.
For
okay.
For like cloak, yeah. For like
cloak, porphyria.
Like for majestic or king, whatever, like a royalty thing.
Mm-hmm. But clothing of the royalty.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know, because it gets translated as cloak, but it's more than that. It's more like his royal clothing.
What's the word?
Porphyria.
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 And the actual word that it came from is porphyra. But then it changed in, once it went into, Aramaic, it changed a little bit.
Yeah. Interesting. So interesting.
If Andrea reads the very next line she was going to read, and assume that we're connecting to the Sifro of Partsuf. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? That's what this
of Atik. Yes.
Right. That's what it's going to be.
Aha. So this is important, because as I said, there is no time in the spiritual realm. So what's the reference when it says days of old? It's Atika Kadisha. It's the Partsuf of Atik. It's an aspect of Keter. It's an aspect of the highest of the 10 Sfirot, a realm in which is beyond comprehension for us. I mean, I'm saying beyond comprehension, but we know it's there. So that's already, like when you know what you don't know, when you know there's something you don't know, well, that's something you know. As opposed to the things you don't even know you don't know. Those are there too, but there's the things we know, there's things we know we don't know, and there's we don't even know we don't know. Right? So Atika is an aspect of Keter that we have some idea about. Okay, so this very out of focus pictures, it's starting to come into focus, which, look, this is life. It's like we're going through a process trying to figure out what the Zohar is talking about. Is no different than us trying to go through life and figure out what exactly is going on right now. I don't know what's going on right now. All right, well, what do I know? It's like we start to figure things out on the margins, the things that we recognize, our frames of reference. And so for us, this is like assisting us in just elevating our consciousness, elevating our level of awareness about the things that we don't know that are going on in our life, but we have a sense that they're important. We have a sense that they're definitely important. Okay, keep going.
Meaning from the Sfirot of the Partsuf of Atik, called days of old. On the day the temple was destroyed, he ripped his cloak, for it is his glory and perfection, namely Malchut.
Okay, hang on one second. There's this thing, like, if you haven't been to the Western Wall, I want to say 30 days. If you haven't been to the village, when you go, you need to, at a sign of mourning for the fact that Temple no longer stands there, you have to tear your clothing. Some people do that. Like, it's just an acknowledgement of the energy of the place, that there's a big void there.
And David, why don't you explain just that I'm gonna say the ritual, but I mean at the passing of someone in your family, we wear the black and it's a ripped clothing. So why don't you explain?
Yes, so that's also as a sign of mourning when someone from our immediate family passes, when that mourning process begins, typically at the funeral or the burial, we also tear our clothing and we wear that garment during the entire period of what is typically 7 days called Shiva. It's an outward sign of mourning. But it's also about the energy that we're connecting to. So it's also a way, it's an important aspect of the grounding that takes place for us when we're in that immediate 7-day period of mourning. That there's a different connection with a loved one. Their soul is moving on to the next realm, and we are grounding ourselves so we can be there to assist them on their journey. All the restrictions associated with mourning are all about, it gets explained in modern terms like, well, this helps us all deal with the loss. And on a 1% level, that's true. But on the 99% level, part of our role when we lose a loved one is to assist their soul in their journey. So by grounding ourselves, by sitting close to the ground, by, not doing things that are, outwardly celebratory, that would distract us from that soul that's elevating, we restrict so that we can be there to assist that soul in elevating. So this also takes place, is also an outward sign of mourning when we go to the Wailing Wall and the temple's not there. Is the temple there? Well, we've been there, it's not there. It is there. It's in the terrestrial temple doesn't stand, but the celestial temple never left. But notwithstanding, we have this example that Zohar is bringing us of the creator tearing his royal cloak. Okay, keep going.
He ripped his cloak, for it is his glory and the perfection, namely Malchut, which is called the glory of Hashem. And it is his perfection because through it, he protects himself with the mohin of the illumination of Chokhmah.
Okay, so obviously, this is Malchut changed when the terrestrial, the physical temple was destroyed. Arguably, that's the tearing of the cloak. There are people that when they build a house, they leave one part of the house unfinished. Literally, I've seen them, they leave a hole in the wall. Or a part of like their entryway unpainted. To connect to this aspect of Malchut that no longer includes a physical temple. The world is incomplete without the physical temple. So even when they build a house, it's incomplete.
So, Suzanne, I have a question. Is it okay to interrupt? Okay.
Please.
So, I have an interesting story, but I have some questions. So this tearing of the garment to me is like a splitting of the klipot, creating a space in Malchut to let the light in. Yeah. I mean, that's how I'm kind of digesting this.
Well, okay. Let's let that simmer for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
What else did you want to know? What else is bothering you right now about this?
Well, no, not bothering me, but just fascinated.
Okay, good.
My dad passed away, 12 years ago? Yeah, or 11, excuse me. It was at the time that year, it was the Friday before Passover. I was raised Catholic. Okay, so Friday before Passover, 3:17 p.m. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And then of course, Easter was like the following, 10 days later.
Right.
But there was a windstorm. It was the spring. There was a windstorm and the awning on the house split. Sure. And then he fell down the stairs, broke his neck, went to the hospital, gave us 5 days to deal with and saying goodbye. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Kind of a tragic exit, but he was pain-free.
Right.
So it was just
pain-free considering he fell down the steps and broke his
neck.
Yeah, okay. Because that could be painful.
Right. And it was like no pain.
Right.
Which was, I'm sorry to put the tragic part in there, but it was
it's part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, he had quite an exit strategy, but anyway, you gotta laugh, otherwise you're crying.
Yeah, it's an exit strategy. It is.
It is. So he corrected whoever he needed to correct. But I thought it was fascinating that the awning on the home, right? Tore.
Yeah.
And I saw all this in retrospect, right? I was like, oh my God, this is like so biblical. Like,
right.
Right?
Just like, yeah, I mean, you know, that stuff's probably always going on. We're just not present to it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting that it's the tear of the awning, though. Yeah. Okay, Andrea.
And he ripped it means that the first time 9 sfirot left her and only the 10th remained.
Oh, so at a certain level, with the destruction of the temple, the 9 sfirot are torn apart from Malchut. At some level, because obviously we're making that connection all the time. But that's indicative of the impact that the destruction of the temple happened. And just so we're clear, you know, we have a long history of, like, you know, blowing it in the Garden of Eden, at Mount Sinai, you know, eating of the apple in the Garden of Eden, building the golden calf at Mount Sinai, you know, sinat chinam, hate for no reason at the temple. Like, that's our history. That's part of what we're dealing with. It's part of what we're correcting for. Okay. I think we're setting ourselves up for an important next step. 48. Amar le asa Hashem asher zamam v'chi malka chashiv la'avasha livnoi ad la yetun lemechte. Amar le l'malka dahava le man yikar v'chol yamad dahava dachil ale d'lo yitbar v'hava mistakel be v'takem be'enoi l'yomim atavarei v'yargiz le l'malka natal malkahu man yikar utavar le hadahu dichtiv as Hashem asher zamam. Andrew.
He asks, Hashem has done that which he deserved.
Devised.
Sorry, as which he devised. It is
meaning he was doing things per plan. Like, you know, the architect does the drawings and then builds the building aligned with the drawings. Go ahead.
Is this the way of a king to devise evil against his children even before they have sinned?
Oh my God, we were set up. He knew we would eat the apple. He knew we'd build the golden calf. He knew the temple would be destroyed. He knew we would be guilty of sinat chinam, baseless hatred. He knew it. We're set up. Right? He did know. Keep going.
And he answers him, it is like a king who has a precious vessel and was constantly afraid that it might one day break. So he used to watch it by keeping it under his eye. One day his son came along and made the king angry. So the king took his precious vessel and smashed it. This is why it says that which he devised.
It's a fascinating story. He didn't wait for the kid to break it. He broke it on his own. Meaning, we didn't destroy the temple. The Creator did.
Isn't it free will, David?
Isn't it, though? So, again, this is us coming to terms with all the ways in which we've messed up. I mean, we have the free will, no question about it. But, you know, this goes to this idea that, yeah, we have free will, but if the Creator knows it's going to happen, then what kind of free will is there? And that is a paradox that we are not going to reconcile. It's the Creator. You know, we talk about being careful about speech because we have to watch out what we say may come true. Right? This is why negative speech, negative self-talk is so detrimental. This is why anything that comes out of our mouth, we have to be concerned with it may potentially manifest.
Hey, David.
I just muted you by mistake. Go ahead.
Our teachers say that God, Hashem, created the system. We have the free will. So when I look at this, God didn't, it's not that God did know, but God still got to let us do our thing, right? We have the chance, they always say, we can rewrite history, right? We can rewrite our future. We just keep falling.
Yes. If we know like that our kid, like imagine it's a parent and child, and the parent sees the child is heading on the wrong path and knows what's going to happen pretty much. Child still has free will, and the parent doesn't say anything. Is the parent complicit?
We call that tough love, right?
Call that tough love. Exactly right. So at a certain level, it's not complicit. It's like they have to learn a lesson. If I don't allow them to have that experience of falling, they're not going to be able to elevate. And this is all about us having the opportunities to remove the blockages that we came here to remove. This is the work we're here to do. So even though the Creator knows that we're going to fall, the Creator's giving, we're all here with the opportunity and the free will to do what we need to do to avoid manifesting that negativity, to manifest more of our positivity, to manifest more of the best version of ourselves.
Can I ask something and it may seem a little bit morbid, but this is what just came up for me. You know, Netflix is running that Jeffrey Dahmer piece, right?
Yeah. Every time I go to Netflix, it's like the first thing I see.
Listen, and it's, believe it or not, there are a lot of Kabbalistic principles inside of there. So here's what came up. Towards the end of his life when he was in prison, he reconciled, right? And he attempted to make peace. But his the guy that was in the same area with him had an interpersonal relationship with God where he'd hear his voice tell him to do things. And Dahmer heard about Gacy's relationship as a Catholic, and that he knew that God forgave him, but he still didn't care. And he got the electric chair, and Dahmer got life, right? So the guy that kills him tells him that in the process of killing him, tells him that God told him that he had to pay the price. And Dahmer says to him, but I reconciled. And he had a look of bewilderment as if, okay, so if God knew, right, knows what we're going to do, then the question comes up, why would the Creator permit somebody so morbid to kill so many people? Were they innocent? Did they have that coming? Was that a part of their tikkun?
So it's a great question. It's a great question. And there's obviously a lot of material there, a lot of aspects to the story. So, but I think it's helpful to look at things like that and understand that there is this intersection between souls. Like two people have an interaction and it's like, is it just one of their tikkun? No, it's not. It's like every interaction you have with somebody, you have what you're supposed to be doing and they have what they're supposed to be doing. The fact that they intersect is just the way the conductor, the Creator, has set up the orchestra. What notes will be playing when? Just because we're playing notes at the same time doesn't mean we're playing the same note. We're not. So there's different things. Everyone has a different trajectory and journey. At times they intersect, but we still are working on our own journey and we're still responsible for our own consciousness. We're not responsible for their consciousness. We're responsible for our own and our own actions. Is that helpful? It's a great question and it comes up all the time in terms of when things happen, like what's going on. Were they innocent? Were they just an innocent bystander? Kabbalistic, there's no such thing as an innocent bystander. There's a reason why that's happened. But back to like personal responsibility, we are responsible for our own work here our own limitations, our own insensitivities, our own numbness to what's going on around us. We are responsible for that. I had a major revelation this morning for me. And that was that sometimes I won't engage in what could be called self-care because I think it's frivolous and wasteful.
Is that a denial of the feminine part of you?
Well, I mean, at a certain level, you could say that, but I think it's just a denial. I think it's just like some kind of software virus I picked up someplace, which isn't helpful because there are times where I need to be doing things that work for me. And I won't allow myself to do it because I feel like it's too much of an indulgence.
Right. Don't we associate self-care with the feminine and moving forward with the masculine version of us? We keep going, provide, protect, produce, provide, protect, produce.
And also, delay immediate gratification. And what I'm saying is that's all true, but you can overdo it. You can be too heavily leaning towards gvura, towards judgment, towards restriction. You can be restricting too much. Sometimes the work that we need to do is to let up a little bit. It's not always about, I'm saying this because it's not always just about becoming more compassionate to those around you. Sometimes it's about being more compassionate to yourself. Well, that sounds selfish. Well, it's not. I guess that's the point. It's not selfish. Yes, Stacey, help me with this, please.
Well, so the last couple of weeks have been, extremely busy for me. And what I realized during the trip is that I actually have an obligation for self-care because my strength is the only thing that gives my vessel the ability to be in service of the Creator and to help others.
Absolutely.
And so on this journey, just lots and lots of travel, the self-care aspect came in terms of I have an obligation for my physical body, how strong I am. I had to, in Europe, you don't have elevators everywhere. So I'm lugging my 50-pound bag up 3 flights of stairs. And I'm like, why am I not going to the gym every day, right? Because I think to myself, oh, I'll sacrifice the gym so I can go, work another couple of hours or something like that. And
you are right on point. I look at exercise like it's an indulgence that I don't have the time for.
You have to do it. You never know when you need that strength. And it could also be because of the spiritual strength that we have together with this group, we also never know how much that spiritual strength or mental strength gives us when we're facing a challenge.
Right. But I'd offer up, hearing both of you, that the question actually, is it about the self-care or is it about the cocoon that's getting in your way of self-care? And you're getting the chance to visualize the experience of something that maybe you should be doing that you're not doing. Because I can say for someone who exercises a lot, the flip side is true, is I need to be kind to myself and pull back, take the pedal off the metal off the pedal, because I'll go too far and hurt myself, right? So what's the cocoon, right? What's driving us to actually not do in balance what we should do that we know we get more benefit from?
So listen, this is 2 Cancerians. Peter's working out too hard and I'm not working out hard enough.
Well, can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Can the Scorpio is going to chime in?
Go water sign.
I don't know if it's well, okay, so it's maybe more of a boundaries thing, and I want to point it back to your your own personal cocoon too, because for me this past year, and you know, like a few of you know, but I got mugged Erev Rosh Hashanah last year in New York City, and Yair defended me, right? But and I spoke with my teacher about that, and you know, I'm like, what do you think that's about? You know, and I kind of knew what he was gonna say, and he's like, maybe you need to fight for yourself, and that's something that I don't do. So this whole year, like this year, it was a lot of like you know, like setting up boundaries, even cutting some people off, like things I've been putting off, right? Because I'm afraid of the confrontation. And to me, that's what I need to work on, because I'm usually like, oh, okay, let's just sweep it under the rug, and you know, I'll be nice, we'll be nice.
Right.
Right. Wait, can I add and relate a very personal story? Is that the what you guys to me are actually all saying is, right, you're getting these signs, and our teachers always say the signs come soft, and as we miss them, they get harder and harder until we hear them. And I was going to say that I had two, I'm fairly intuitive, and I had two things happen this week. And I'll just, the real quick one was we're dog sitting, and we had some work done in our garage, so we couldn't park in our garages. So I had a garage door opener in my car outside, whatever. I had a garage door opener because I needed to open the garage and not for my car. And the work was done. We were back in. I had access to my garage, but I had put the garage door opener, and my wife kept taking it out. So here it was out, and I'd seen it a couple times, and I kept going to myself, why is this thing here? We put that thing away. Sure enough, I go walk the dog. I come back. My garage doesn't open. I'm locked out of my house. I was locked out for more than an hour and kept asking the Creator why. And how often do we actually have the message in front of us and we don't hear it? We don't see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's good. So I think all these stories, the reason why they're so powerful, A, because they're real and they're personal, but B, because again, this is about our personal work. I mean, to Rocky's question before, that was a bit more from the, you know, the dark side, but it doesn't matter. It's like, this is all the work that we have to do. You know, whether it's, you know, two notorious, you know, criminals in prison and the work that they're doing, or the work that we're doing, everybody's here to do something. I don't know what anybody else's work is, unless, of course, we share the stories, which is really important because it gives us the ability to process it on our own, and the ability to give the rest of us the opportunity to think and relate to that story and think about how it relates to our lives and what's going on for us. But literally, it's all about the work that we're doing. It's literally all about the work that we're doing. And when we are connecting to a section that's talking about the destruction of the temple and the break that caused between the upper realm and lower realm, this is us working on rebuilding that connection. And how do we rebuild that connection? Well, one is reading the Zohars on this. And the second one is all the little work that we are doing in our lives, which seems inconsequential to the direction of what's taking place on a global level. It doesn't seem like it matters. Whether I work out or not, is that really going to make the world a better place? Yes, it is going to make the world a better place. Because taking care of myself is important. Otherwise, I can't show up. As Stacy's saying, and we're all saying, I can't. Also,
it's part of your spirituality to take care of yourself.
Yes, 100%. And when I look at it and I trivialize it, or I marginalize it, or I call it like selfish, you know who's saying that? Not my soul. It's not my soul that said that. That's the opponent.
David, I'm going to add one more thing. I come from a lineage, both of my parents lived into their 90s. And they were just like so committed to taking care of themselves, not in a hedonistic way, but just in a role model. You know, they both, you know, worked out and were committed to this. And they honestly, in their older years, were able to kind of breeze through major surgeries, major health issues. They had the stamina. Like my mom was months away from 95. And up until she died, she climbed those stairs, man. even if she was exhausted, you know, wanting to go to bed, fall asleep on the chair, let's go upstairs. And she pulled, do you know what I'm saying? And then yes. I see other people that God, you know, God help them. They're not, but there's just something to that stick-to-itiveness, like that push through. So if that can be an inspiration, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, like you're pushing through walls, I'm sure, in a lot of other ways, right? But we want to apply that to our body and our strength.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In all aspects of our self-care, wherever we're, I mean, again, everything's got to be in balance. But there are definitely places where we're not doing the work. And Suzanne, I've seen what you've said for other people who really were committed to kind of taking care of themselves physically, how that benefited them in their later years. I mean,
yeah. So just like heads up, like whatever.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I want to thank you guys for this. Thank you for explaining this tikkun thing, because what I brought up last week about the sustenance, it just pivoted everything. Instead of victim, like, hey, kids, step up. You know, like take care of yourself. So this is like hitting me and everybody else.
Right. It's like what place does this have in Zohar?
Be a survivor,
central,
not a victim.
Central place. Wait, say that again, Yair?
Be a survivor, not a victim.
Yeah, and especially in a month of Scorpio, where the universe is gonna be taking shots at us, where we are most vulnerable. Why would the universe do that? Because the universe is trying to help us to strengthen those vulnerabilities. It's trying to let us know the work we need to do. The children of Israel were warned countless times about what would happen if they didn't correct their ways, if they weren't working on their tikkun. They wouldn't have enough to sustain the temple. It didn't just come out of left field. Nothing comes out of left field, except the left fielder. Nothing comes out of left field. Nothing shows up without forewarning. There's always messages. There's always things going on. It's a matter of whether or not we hear those messages and do something about it. And so for all of us, and again, this is a tremendous message for us in this month. And it's also, keep in mind, Noah got the message. He needed to build the ark to save civilization. It didn't rain for 120 years.
And it took him 600 years. I was reading the Zohar. It took him 600 years of his own life to correct before he was able to actually, God would let him go on the ark.
As we approach the Gemara Tikkun, it's a much shorter timeline for things nowadays. So the world is sped up. So every process that we're in, we need to be working on doing our tikkun, on looking for the ways in which we're just not being truthful with ourselves. And we're going to get reminders of those things this month. So let's all be open and aware of that and the things that we need to do. Okay, we're out of time.
Right, thank you, David.
Thank you. Love you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes. Some other question? Okay.
No, just thank you.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Bye.
shalom. Thanks, Liz. Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.